I wonder if you could talk about the importance of play for children,
Yeah.
and also if there's some way that the skill set that you're teaching adults who work with children could also be applied to adults who are working with themselves.
Yeah. I think in some ways, everything we do with kids applies to adults because it's a developmental process, right? The work that we do with kids isn't about a single point in time. It's about this dynamic process of learning and developing and shifting and changing. And, play is ideally how kids access their world, right? Through joyful connection to what's outside of them and what's inside of them and to other people. And that can become almost impossible for kids who are sort of stuck in a survival state, right? And it's not that they don't want to access that joyful connection, but it's scary and it's hard. And knowing how to be, in connection and in relationship and in your own body when you're just trying to survive a moment is overwhelming, right? And so, I sort of think like in everything in development, adults provide this scaffold, this facilitating environment that lets kids sort of relax and
Mm.
be able to be in connection. But we can only do that if we as adults ourselves are feeling regulated and calm and attuned and connected, and we have our own needs met and can access and sort of see what kids are communicating with their behavior. I think sometimes that kids who are sort of the most in need of connection are the ones that are hardest to connect with because
Yeah.
they put out so many challenging signals, right? And so as adults, maybe we pull back or we control or we, limit or consequence. We do all of these things because we can't read the messages that kids are giving us.
Mm.
And when we can sort of slow down our responses and be in connection, then we create this space for it, right? And that's magical, not just for kids, but for us as adults. And I do think play is an adult need too. I think about this has been a hard year for finding joy for a lot of adults, right? It's been a
It's
hard year for,
been very confining.
yeah, yeah. And it sort of almost feels sometimes like pleasure is a luxury, right? It's a luxury that we shouldn't have because there's so much we have to do and take care of. And our sort of natural connection has gotten stilted. I mean, even this, what we're doing right
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
right? This is
yeah.
so unnatural as a way of connecting because we're it's natural, but it's not, right? And we've all sort of learned this new way of being. And so, creating spaces for us as adults to feel engaged and connected and sort of in our bodies again, I think is so critical. So yeah, I think this is something that is just so important across the span, and it lets kids access these critical skills. It's not just like play for this. I mean, play for the sake of play is fabulous. It's really important, but we can through play help kids find connection, find decision making, find self, find wants and opinions and needs, things like that.
So when you're working with families, the focus is on the kids, I'm imagining, but do you also have to address the ability of the adult who's their caretaker to play?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, for myself and the work that I do, our focus really isn't just on the child. So, I work from the lens of our attachment regulation competency, our ARC framework. And our whole premise is that kids can only develop in the context of a safe nest. And so a really primary focus for us is on the adult caregiving system, is on how to really support adults themselves in feeling safe and held and connected. We're trying to build and support that rhythm between adults and kids. And when adults never had that rhythm themselves in relationship, it's so hard sometimes to find it with their kids, even though they desperately want to, right? And every adult that has that influential role in the life of a kid is an intervener, right? No matter what role they're playing. So I think there is a deep importance in working with adults to feel safe themselves. The same way that kids can't play if they don't feel safe, adults can't play if they
Right,
don't feel safe.
right, right. So I wonder what it's like. Do you ever work with a family or a system where they really don't get it? They don't get why play is important.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I laugh sometimes. I think like one of the questions you get a lot of questions when you work clinically with families, but one of them is like, I don't understand this play thing. Like, what are you doing when you just play?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Um, and yet, when we bring families in, and it's different with older kids versus younger kids, but when you sit down on the floor together, right, and you get messy, or you pull out dolls or puppets, or you roll balls back and forth, and you feel that rhythm of being together, right, and you think about all the ways, all the things that are happening in those moments, you can see relationship happen in a way that sometimes is really hard for people outside of those moments. And it's actually one of the things with parents who really struggle to connect to their kids. I say, like, give me just 5 minutes. We're just going to spend 5 minutes just playing, right? Where we just go with it. And I don't want you to try to do anything, right? Don't try to regulate don't try to, tell your kid what to do. You're not being a therapist here. I just want you to play, right? 5 minutes of being in connection. And then let's just see what that's like. And there's something so freeing, for parents. I'm a parent. We're always trying
Yeah.
to do stuff, right? We're always trying to manage stuff or affect stuff, or, am I being a good parent? And it's freeing to just be with your kid.